Yo, 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 welcome to another episode of Culture Controversial Podcast Sports Talk. I'm your host, Simply Nicholas 87, with my co-host D Ron and TH. What's up, fellas?
What's going
Hey,
on, man? What's going on, world? Friday
hey,
night.
hey. Yeah,
Friday
Friday night.
night.
Friday night. I'm happy to be here. No place I'd rather be.
You know it. So with all the new people out there that haven't subscribed to the channel, y'all definitely go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Uh for those that have, hit the like button, share this content, man. We about to get into some good topics tonight, you know what I'm saying? Some shakeups. I wouldn't say shakeups, but some okay deals, maybe in my opinion. But we're gonna get into it.
All right.
We're gonna start with the main course of it, the so-called blockbuster trade between James Harden and Ben Simmons. What's your thoughts on the whole situation?
Um, I thought Philadelphia got hosed. You gave up. I know Simmons hadn't played, but you gave up Simmons. You gave up Seth Curry. You gave up Andre Drummond. You gave up two first-round draft picks for 33-year-old James Harden, who's been nicked up the last couple of years, who seems to be kind of on the decline from where he was a few years ago.
What the
I
sneakers? What's up?
I don't understand that at all. I mean, if you wanted James Harden, fine, but to give all that up for him, and then you gave up two first for him too. Along, I mean, for a guy that's over the hill and a guy who notoriously chokes in big games, and like I say, and he's 33 years old. I just didn't get that. I know people are going to get caught up in it, and they were like, "Oh, Philadelphia made a blockbuster move." You got to realize Philadelphia was the number one seed last year. So
Yep.
it's not like Philadelphia's been an under the radar squad or anything. Philadelphia's been a team that's been looked at as one of the better teams in the East. They just in the playoffs choked with Ben Simmons when he was there. He choked. Embiid, those guys have choked. But on the flip side, James Harden when he was out west choked as well. Even last year in the East semis against in Game 7 against the Milwaukee Bucks, where he threw up a bunch of bricks. What did he shoot in that
He
game?
stunk up the place like
Yeah,
three or four for
three
something.
like three like 3 for 21 or something like that. It was like bad like that 4 for 21, 3 for 21. It was something like that. So I mean
Two first round picks
That's the James Harden
unnecessary.
that you gave all of that up for. I mean, in the short term, I mean it gives you firepower, but that unless you win the championship this year, which I don't think Philadelphia will, that move is going to come to bite them, especially with the money that's involved with James Harden too. That's just a move I thought they gave up way too much for.
Right. Definitely gave up too much, in my opinion. Like I said, the Nets got the better end of the deal to me.
Absolutely.
Then you got a good. I mean, Seth Curry's not a bad player. Don't get it twisted.
He's a hell of a shooter.
Shooter, yeah. So
Yeah, give you
when
floor
them
space.
those games that Kyrie can't play at home, there's your point.
Yep.
Yeah, but to be fair, Seth Curry ain't have to play the Kyrie Irving years. I want him
No, he's not half the
make
player.
that clear.
I get that, but it's like you plugging in something that's I'm not
They
gonna
can
say
shoot.
he
Yeah.
was, yeah.
They
So
give you fire. I mean, you get some firepower out of them. The Brooklyn Nets are not going to win the championship. They're on a 10-game losing streak. Durant's been in and out the lineup all year. Ben Simmons hadn't played all year, so now with 27 games left, what's the, hold up, 29, 26, 55. Yeah, 27 games
yeah,
left. He's not just going to magically be in basketball shape and just ready to roll. Then he got to get acclimated to what's going on. They're already on a 10-game losing streak. Kyrie Irving only plays on road games, so now you're still trying to get all those pieces acclimated. Durant is out through All Star. We don't know when he's coming back. If they're
yeah,
not careful, they can fool around and not even make the playoffs altogether. And so I think it's silly to be having championship talk about a squad who right now looks more like a team that's in danger of missing the playoffs more than they are as being a threat to win the championship.
right. And also, I think that, like you said, I think the acquisition was more for next year than it is this year.
Yeah, but you better take care of today before you work. As the press star always say, tomorrow's not promised.
Promise,
You
it's
better
not promise.
you better take care of today.
But those two first round draft picks, they can sure enough get something out of it. I mean, not picking
I,
somebody, but like getting something like
you got
a
yeah,
trade bait, basically.
yeah, trade bait basically, yeah, because you're talking about a first round draft pick for Philadelphia. You're talking about picks that are going to be like the 26 and 27 pick. In
Big
the NBA draft, that's worthless for the most part.
part, yeah. Unless you trade into a sorry team.
Yeah, but like I said, you trade a Philadelphia team that's typically a 50
Yeah.
plus win team year in and year out with the
Yeah.
talent they have. And even with the moves they made, probably still going to be a playoff team. Those draft picks don't really, it's not like they're lottery picks or anything. So, I mean, the only thing they can hope is that if in those years that Philadelphia fall off, or maybe if Embiid gets injured or something like that and they end up falling into the lottery. And see, I don't even know if those are lottery protected picks. If they're not lottery protected, then great. So,
Great, yeah.
so
D?
Um, I just feel like it's kind of a pointless but understood trade because both sides were just trying to get rid of. Well, I ain't say get rid of each other, but both parties wanted to be out of their.
That situation. Yeah.
So Harden wanted to be out of a situation where he felt like again, like he didn't get with the way he wanted, and then Ben Simmons pretty much the same way. So the thing is, I felt like it was stupid. It was, yeah, what call give up two picks didn't make any sense. But all in all, I guess if both teams are happy at the end of the day, they got rid of the drama. But all in all, they got
Jeremiah.
so we'll see how it works out. I mean, James Harden probably would be a little bit more help for Philadelphia right now that was down on kind of a star player or a good player. But I mean, again, like T said earlier, we talking about an aging Harden, 33 years old. So he's not going to give you the productivity like he had early on in maybe Houston and, the years that he had in Houston where it was a predominant ball handler, the predominant guy that gave you all your production, scoring and everything like that. So, I didn't think too much of it, I'm glad it happened because I got tired of hearing about it in the media. So, you
yeah,
know, I'm just glad, now Philadelphia can move on and kind of focus on the playoffs from their aspect. Now that they got a player that can come in and play to kind of fill the void a tad bit, and then,
yeah,
and then the Nets can kind of with the Nets, like I said, they are on a 10-game losing streak. So what I think, and you might have touched on it too, T, is like they're probably just looking for more. Actually, what you harped on, cuz, is where the Nets might be looking forward to next year more than this year because of the situation.
Yeah.
They got,
Relations.
with KD and the roster that they got. Kyrie's half part time job than has where he can't play in New York, so it's not looking too good for the Nets right now because of the situation. So, I think all in all, they just looking for next year, basically. I mean, I think they probably pretty much gave it up on this year.
Yeah. I don't think. Well, I won't say they. Well, I ain't gonna
I
say they
wouldn't say they're
gave up.
giving up, yeah, but I think
They know they're
they
not gonna be the top team in the East.
Well,
right.
I think they're gonna get bumped out. I mean, they were what ninth, eighth, or they ninth? Had they fallen
I,
to 10th?
I don't know, but they've lost 10 games in a row. They're 29 and 26.
I
Well,
don't.
Charlotte's sitting above them, though, right? Or they,
Yeah,
Charlotte's 28. I know Charlotte 28 and 28.
yeah,
So Charlotte's lost 6 in a row.
yeah.
They're
so
playing
how do you
Detroit
feel
right
about?
now. They're leading.
Yeah, they're 79-50, 79-59 right now, I think, is the score.
Should be in the fourth quarter, shouldn't it?
No, this
Late there.
they ain't have time now. I'm actually watching the game, so
That's just a halftime.
yeah.
Oh, we're notorious to blow those kind of leads. Then I thought it was okay.
Hope not. I mean, that's Detroit, but
They lost to
Yeah,
Orlando at home a few weeks ago, like that. So, I mean, Orlando, a bad Orlando team, they only won like 8 games. So
yeah.
you just never
so how
know.
do you
I'm
feel
not a.
about the acquisition that the Hornets used yesterday?
Oh, that's a good move. Montrezl Harrell. First of all, it's from Tarboro, North Carolina. He and Todd Gurley are from like the same area.
Right.
Um, yeah, he. I'm again. A good friend of mine that knows him personally. But anyway, he North Carolina guy, played a little bit, very tough guy. I think he's going to be very good in the pick and roll with ball because he's a great pick and roll player. He was excellent in the pick and roll when he played with the Clippers. So he's a great finisher around the rim. He's a good back to the basket player. He can hit like the 15-foot mid-range jump shot. He can do the pick and pop, the pick and roll. I think he's going to inflate his numbers with Ball, and Ball's going to get him paid. I think at the
Mhm.
center position, even though he's not this shot blocker, rim protector, still at least he gets you easy buckets. Now you don't have to be as reliant on the 3-point shot because you got a guy down low that can get you easy buckets. I think that was an excellent acquisition, and you didn't have to give up much to get him. Even giving up Ish Smith, the belief is that Ish is going to take a buyout and might return back to Charlotte in 30 days. So you still end up okay.
Still got
So
you still
Yeah,
might be.
yeah,
which I think
yeah,
this might be the case, kind of like a layaway type thing, situation. I think it was a good move, especially with me, he fits he fits the caliber that they play now. Borrego likes this kind of the small ball lineup where he can get up and down the court, you
yeah,
know, score and transition heavily. They're one of the fastest paced team in the NBA when it comes to transition now and offenses.
Mm.
So
yeah.
with the way, like I said, his style of play where he can finish easy around the basket, he's in the right place where Melo can put him in position to score at ease, a good rebounder. He's only 6'8", but he has a wingspan of a 7'4" guy. So
Yeah,
he
got long
does,
arms.
yeah, long. He does create a depth.
He can
I'm
create a
not
mismatch.
all pure defender, but he can alter a lot of guys that might be not, you know,
He brings tough. He brings a physicality and a toughness. So
yeah,
even on defense, even if he's not this rim protector or shot blocker, he's a physical player. So defensively, he's going to bring that. He's still going to bring a level of toughness to the defensive side of the ball,
yeah,
even if
which
he's not a natural defender.
which they need right now because not to knock on Plumlee, he's not a.
Knock on him, he's a bum.
He, I'm not going to knock on him. I mean, he is what he is, but what you expect, you know, I don't think.
All them Plumlee boys that played at Duke are bums. I'm sure they're good men. I'm sure they're good productive
Yeah,
citizens and a good part of
Hell, what's up,
society.
man?
But on the court, they're bums.
they're bums. I just don't want to say it, but
Miles Mason, and there's a third one. The same thing with the Zellers,
um,
Cody, Tyler, and there's another one.
Tyler.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get both of those families mixed up. I just lump them all into a family of bums at center.
After they left college, that was it. They just
it's Zeller,
Yeah,
Cody Zeller. I can't even remember the name. He was just there last year. Cody actually got waived by Portland.
yep.
and he was the fourth pick in the draft out of Indiana. He
Miss
and he
Erica,
and, Vic-
what's going
he
on?
and Victor Oladipo were like this dynamic duo in Indiana, and
Yep.
and now I mean Oladipo was good until he got hurt, but Zeller, not Tyler Zeller. We knew he was a bum coming out of North Carolina, or whichever one of the schools he played at. One of the ACC school. Cody Zeller.
That's the
Um,
one that went to Indiana, ain't it? What
yeah,
other one in Indiana?
And
Cody
Cody,
went to Indiana. The fourth pick in the draft in Indiana. He
Yeah.
and Victor Oladipo were like an all-American duo at Indiana. They played under Kelvin Sampson, or had he gotten fired by then? Because
I can't remember.
they came right after Eric Gordon, but Kelvin Sampson was fired when Eric Gordon was there. So I can't keep up. Tom Crean may have been coaching them then. I think they played under Tom Crean.
Now I get to the part of the show where I'm just like, I knew everybody was like, "Oh, something's gonna happen tomorrow for us," and I was like, "We're not gonna get anything done tomorrow. The Lakers are not gonna do anything. It wasn't nothing gonna be done. They had an
You can't make
opportunity. You can't make somebody want somebody.
we don't. But that's what I was getting at. We don't have anybody. Lakers don't have anybody wants. You got in
Right.
order to make a trade, you got to have something somebody else want. If you ain't got nothing, how can you trade something?
Exactly. That's what I was saying. Like, nope. Why would you trade Russell back to the place where he didn't want to be and they don't want him there?
And hell, I didn't want John Wall. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah,
John Wall.
I do.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, John Wall's nothing but a name. Uh, John Wall has been nothing more than a name the last 3 or 4 years. I never thought he was great. I thought he was good in his heyday. John Wall hasn't been a factor or a major contributor to this league in the last 4 years. So
Nope.
I never understood when Houston traded Westbrook to Washington for John Wall in the first place. And at that time, they still had James Harden, was still trying to compete for championships. They were deciding to make that move I guess, to try something different to see if it would work. That's when Harden got mad and said, "I don't want to be a part of this." I never understood what the appeal of John Wall would have been anyway. I'm not trying to the pew on John Wall, but Well, John Wall was a big name coming out of Kentucky. He had a few good years. He was a good player, but he was never a guy, the caliber of guy that can lead you over the hump, protect you to the promised land. He was a nice player. He was flashy, but he never showed that to me that he was some kind of franchise player or anything like that. It's just that he was a big fancy name, and
Yeah.
I don't think much of John Wall. I'm not saying he's a bad dude, but I'm just talking about even in his heyday. I never thought he was what you call a money player or a franchise marquee player. I just thought he was a good talent.
But like I said, at this point now, you just got to ride the course of the road. It is what it is at this point of the year. I mean, like I said, still basketball to be played, but I mean, you can't be losing to fucking Portland like you did
Well,
the other
that's
night.
what you got. Like I'm
Well,
Yeah,
saying,
I know y'all might
and,
like it.
go ahead.
LeBron.
I'm sorry.
I know y'all might not like it, but LeBron is the problem in LA. I'm gonna say it. Out of my opinion,
Just whatever.
I've been saying at his date, he's the problem where him and AD like, well, we need to trade for something, but and that came out today. But Rob didn't want to go for it. So again, like you said, you can't trade somebody that nobody don't want. And they put
if
this.
they gonna trade, it's gonna be one of them two. That's the only thing they're gonna get out of it.
Well,
That's why I see it
here,
like the common denominator in this situation or between those two players because
well,
you bring a guy in that you feel like will fit in, but he has to be the ball dominant player. He's not going to fit in with a guy that's already controls the offense the way he play. So,
right.
and
Well, even when they acquired Westbrook, I thought that was a bad fit. Now that's not knocking Westbrook.
no,
I
no,
just
no.
said as much as it's just Westbrook like to have the ball in his hands a lot, and so does James. So I knew that was going to be oil and water.
And I said that
Yeah,
first thing I said when I got, I said he don't need to start. He needs to come off if he's going to be productive. His best bet is to come off the bench with good minutes, but also you got to understand this is a two-time MVP, 2 years in a row where he averaged a triple double.
double. Yeah.
So what did you expect? You think that guy was going to accept the lesser role, knowing that he was
No,
great?
But this
Not
is like
no.
I think that's like with Tyrell.
that in one period of time in the NBA.
I think
One,
that's like what he was saying a while back about the whole thing where how West. I think I don't know if it was you or Chill Time. It's like if Russell Westbrook could play very very good, or he'd be really really bad.
That was Chilltown said that
Yeah, but
that, a
that's
couple
a
weeks
true
ago.
statement.
prime example when he played the Hornets, probably what 2-3 weeks ago.
Man, he lit us up.
He lit us up, but who wasn't out there on the court? He took
Yeah,
control.
James and Davis were hurt. Yeah, because
He
he
took,
he was able to be ball dominant.
you know,
Well, and then and that's not a good mix for James in a way. And I know people want to say, well, he played with Dwayne Wade, who's the guy who played with the ball in his hands. I said the difference there was at that time they were both elite defensively, and they were able to get a lot of easy points off of transition. So that way, guys like Wade, James was handling the ball, and Wade was still able to get points off of transition. So he would. So that's they created those extra possessions where they got a lot of those fast break points. So Wade was still able to score that way, and that's kind of in the same similar fashion how Scottie Pippen got his points basically off of transition defense. So that's a little different now. We're at the stage where James and none of the team, all those guys are older now. They're not the defenders they may have once been. So the team is weak defensively. So it's not like you're going to create points that way. So when you get in that now, and then you're older, you're playing at a slower tempo. So now you're playing in the half court. When you're playing in a half court and you got two ball dominant guys like that, like I said, that's a tough mix. James is going to get his, so Westbrook is the odd man out there. When it
Yep.
comes to Anthony Davis, I've never been big on Anthony Davis. I said when he played with the New Orleans Pelicans, I said he was never able to lead them to anything, never won many games there, but he just put up big numbers. And I think you're seeing now that James is getting older, he's in and out. Even with, it's not like Davis is able to pick the team up and elevate him. You think at this point, James is 37 years old. At this point, a guy like Davis got to say, hey, especially when health, like I got to take over and I got to put this team on my back. Anthony Davis is not capable of putting a franchise on his back and leading it to a championship. This team has 27 games left. They need to at least win 20 of those games, I think, to make the playoffs. That's going to be a tall order. We'll see
Yep.
what happens. But at this point, I mean, they are what they are. I love the Lakers, but most of this roster, this roster that was assembled, most of these guys are people who were handpicked by LeBron James, people that he wanted. And then
Yep.
he was the same guy that the after that roster was built, when people were skeptical given the age of most of the guys on that roster, he was the first one that got critical on Twitter, was saying, "Hey, you're talking junk about my team, but we'll get the last laugh." one thing I don't like about LeBron, I think he's a great man, a great humanitarian. I think he does a lot for the black community. I like LeBron James, the man. So my criticisms are not of LeBron James, the man. My criticisms are of LeBron James, the basketball competitor. So for those listening, let's separate LeBron James, the man, as good as anybody. I support and respect LeBron James, the man. Now, who I'm talking about right now is LeBron James, the basketball competitor. So what I'm criticizing LeBron James, the basketball competitor, for is he's the guy that he always wants everything to be a favorable situation for him. He wants to always be in the most convenient situation, the most comfortable situation, and the most favorable position to win. The thing is, Charles Barkley said it best. Sometimes he doesn't want to compete, and it seems like he never wants to be in a situation where he's an underdog, where he's not the favorite. He wants everything stacked around him. He wants every asset around him, and he's supposed to be the best player in the world, which I believe he is when healthy, at least in his heyday. And it's like every year he's trying to assemble as much
Yeah.
capital and bring as many stars and as much around him as he possibly can to stack the odds in his favor.
So
And the thing about it,
oh,
now I was just
now,
gonna say,
mm,
when you make GOAT arguments like that, I can never call a guy who's afraid to compete the greatest of all time. But go ahead.
now I was saying though, ever since he's left Miami, he's been trying to do that. And so
Well,
like
that's
when it
what.
was,
Well, going to Miami, his going to Miami was that. Like
yeah, yeah, that was it.
you
Yeah,
joined Dwayne Wade and brought Chris Bosh with you and created a super team like that. I mean, and you still lost two finals. I know people talk about he won two championships in Miami.
they
You
lost
lost two
to.
finals as well. And both of those, especially the one against Dallas, that was unacceptable. That was an inferior Dallas team, and that was an aging San Antonio team that you lost to, an washed up Manu Ginobili, a washed up Tim Duncan, an older Tony Parker. They had nobody who made All Pro that year. Not All Pro, All NBA.
Yeah, all NBA, yeah.
Yeah, they had not a single All NBA player that year, and they lost in 5 games to that San Antonio team. The year before, they beat them in 7, and they lost to that Dallas team where the only All NBA player was Dirk Nowitzki, and they had no other All NBA players selection that year. And so they lost 2 NBA Finals in that 4 years they were together. Then when he returned to Cleveland, it was much different from the last time you brought Kevin Love, who at that time was in his prime, was considered a
Yep.
star player in his own right. Then they already had a young star, Kyrie Irving, there. So in the championships that he won, those 3 championships in that time frame he won, he was on stacked teams. So when people say greatest, I'm like, he had everything in his favor. So I mean, you talking about? I saw a list one time of all the guys, the all stars he's played with throughout his career, and I'm like, he should have 4 championships. I will give him credit. The one that won in the bubble with the Lakers is primarily just a duo of he and Anthony Davis with a bunch of role players. That was I'll give credit when it's due. The other championships he won, especially two in Miami, yeah, I mean, he should have won those. Had he not won those, something would have been wrong with the talent level. You got two other superstar players with
So,
you. You should have
right.
won those 2 championships,
And
But
then to take away from D
probably
Wade because
had
D Wade,
Golden State.
huh?
The toughest one he probably had to endure was the Golden State.
Oh,
Finals.
absolutely. To come back from 3-1 down, you got to give him credit on that.
Yeah,
I
that
give him
one
credit. I give him that.
was
Yeah,
his
got to give him credit.
Sco, fuck Brooklyn.
F Brooklyn. Speaking of Brooklyn, with Kevin Durant, if Kevin Durant doesn't win a championship in Brooklyn, he's going to look like that guy that the only way that he can win is when he ran to Steph Curry and Klay Thompson out there in Golden State, a team that was already a dominant championship team and won, because he's left there. I know last year Brooklyn, they got upset at home in the Game 7 in Milwaukee. And then this year, I know he's out, but right now they're struggling. It's like, and he's getting older. He's about 33, 34 or something like that as well, and getting close to it. After a while, he's going to start going down the hill. It's looking like he couldn't get it done in Oklahoma City. He ran to the championship team that he couldn't beat in Golden State, won a couple there, left, and like he ain't able to win any since leaving there. It's looking like, all right, Kevin Durant, are you really that dude? That's why people call him the best on the planet. It's hard for me to accept that. Let me tell you, the championship that Giannis Antetokounmpo led the Milwaukee Bucks to last year is far more impressive than either 2 championships that Kevin Durant won. And the thing about it, at this stage in Giannis Antetokounmpo's career, he's more accomplished than Kevin as a team player. As far as the championships, all that, he's more accomplished than Kevin Durant was at that stage in his career. And he took a team with Chris Middleton and a bunch of role players and won a championship with them. And that's something that Kevin Durant hasn't shown the ability to do. It was something that LeBron James never showed the ability to do either. Both of those guys had to run from these situations, go to more favorable situations where you were already in a stacked situation, and then do it when they had no choice but to do it because the odds were heavily stacked in their favor. Giannis Antetokounmpo did it as an underdog when the odds were not stacked in his favor after failing again and again. And this time, instead of running from the situation, he just got better and made the situation better and led his team. So the championship that Giannis Antetokounmpo led the Milwaukee Bucks to last year is far more impressive than any of the championships that King James won, and definitely more impressive than the ones that Kevin Durant won.
I agree. I definitely agree with that.
Yeah, because you got to think about Milwaukee now. Be honest, the roster that they had going into last year when they won the championship, would you honestly say that you would expect them to win a championship? Starting
No, and they weren't the top seed; they were the third seed.
Yeah.
The years before, they were like the top seed and losing, just like LeBron's old Cleveland teams. But this year they were under the last year they were under the radar. Was third seed, and they went in Brooklyn in a game 7 and won. Won it in overtime. I mean, and then went on to beat the Atlanta Hawks, and then were down 0-2 against the Phoenix Suns and came back and won that series. To me, that's impressive. That's
Yeah.
where you. To me, that's the most impressive championship since the one that Dirk Nowitzki led the Mavs to in 2011.
Yeah, I say that's probably the most, like, I won't say call it challenging, but enduring, where a player just say not today. He's gonna do whatever it takes for his team.
Especially in that game 6, the clinching game. The game was kind of seesawing back and forth. In that third quarter, he just took over the game and he said, well, "I'm taking you home."
Yeah,
that's what a franchise player does. That's the difference between a good player and a great player. Great players in the pressure moments when you need them, they carry the weight. They don't run from the pressure; they run to it. They carry the weight on their shoulder. They carry the burden. They carry that cross, and they carry it up the hill, and they lead you to the promised land.
I say this about, I mean, like I'm a Lakers fan, like you too.
Me too.
But that performance he put on the other night against us, I don't think I ain't seen nothing like it. I mean, we got lackadaisical defense, but
very much lackadaisical.
Very lackadaisical. But he put on a clinic the other night.
Only I can say is he's learning to develop that 3-point shot.
Yeah.
Right. And he doesn't have to shoot it like Curry or nothing, but as long as he can keep the defense honest.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he can make himself a threat inside.
And he worked into Davis.
Outside, he can handle the ball attack for a big guy. You know.
Yeah, he's 6'11". He can handle the ball like a guard, but he's kind of like he's like a freight train, like a Shaquille O'Neal was inside the paint, except he has a guard's ball handling skills.
Yeah.
Brooklyn better than the Lakers. Nah, they probably about eat. Well, they're a little bit better. Ain't that much better.
Yeah, but they're on a 10-game losing streak. If they keep losing, you know.
They'll be about to say. We'll be there to play in.
Yeah, they're on a 10-game losing streak. I don't want no bandwagon Brooklyn guy run off at the mouth. I'm about to say he probably became a Brooklyn fan last week. But they're on a 10-game losing streak. So I'm about to say, tell Brooklyn to win another game, and then they can come and talk to me.
Nah, but like I said, I think honestly, I feel like it's gonna be a rematch in the finals again.
I do too.
I really think
I do too, but I think Phoenix will win it this time.
Yep, man, they look good. Man. Chris Paul he played way better than he did last year.
You got to give Chris Paul credit because people talk about how great LeBron James playing the advanced stage. Chris Paul's 36, 37 as well. And he makes that Phoenix team championship caliber. Before he got there, that was a lottery team year in and year out. He took the pressure off of Devin Booker because Devin Booker could move to 2 guard. Now Devin Booker doesn't have to worry about facilitating and running the offense. He could just play off the ball and just worry about scoring. Where Chris Paul can get everything organized. DeAndre Ayton in the middle might be a free agent in the next coming years. If Charlotte got the cap space, make a run at him. But anyway, DeAndre Ayton, big 7'1" center out of Arizona. Excellent rebounder and a solid scorer too. Rim protector, athletic, could defend the pick and roll. He doesn't have defensive limitations, and he's actually a solid offensive player, which Chris Paul helps with that too. But he's a solid. He ain't Shaq or nothing like, or Kareem or nothing like that, but he's still solid offensively. He'll still give you 16, 17 a game offensively, and is an excellent rebounder, shot blocker, and can defend just beyond the paint. He can defend pick and rolls, and he can switch and rotate as well. DeAndre Ayton is an excellent player, excellent young player. And those Phoenix Suns teams, that Phoenix Suns team is a team that's capable of winning a championship.
I agree. And that's why I say I don't think it'll be like it was last. It'll be How many games was it last year? 6, 5? No,
6.
6. The
They
6.
they won. Phoenix won the first 2 and lost the next 4.
Mm-hmm.
I think that this one will go 7. If it comes to it, I think that one will go 7. Now I'm not gonna push Milwaukee over because they still rolling. I mean, they had a slump starting the season, but
Yeah, some of that was that little hangover after the championship.
yeah,
But the thing about it now, in the prior years, they thought or hoped they could win the championship. Now they know they can win one. So
no,
now when they go into a playoff series or situation where they face adversity, they know they can overcome it. They don't hope it or think we possibly can overcome it. They know they can. You know how they know they can. They said because we did it before.
yep. So
So
I like to see it though, but that Phoenix team, but Golden State
yeah,
having a problem with them.
Golden State is a good team. I knew, and I'm not trying to blame it on Klay Thompson, but I knew when you're trying to reacclimate someone who hasn't played in 3 years,
It's gonna be
it's a
hard.
right. And it was a team that was rolling without him, and now you're trying to put him back in the starting lineup immediately. You're trying
Yeah,
to get him back acclimated. His timing isn't quite back yet. And there's nothing against him. There's nothing wrong with him, but you got to realize he just hadn't played in so long, and now you're trying to implement that, and you're probably taking away from guys who were playing well in his absence. And
yeah.
it's not now it's that reacclimation period, and his timing. If the timing ever comes back, it won't be back until next season. You got to get his
Yeah,
legs back under him.
I agree.
And we still don't know will he ever be the defender that he used to be. We know he can shoot. The guy, we say Curry's the greatest shooter of all time. Thompson's probably a top 5 shooter of all time, so he ain't too far behind him. We
No,
know he can shoot. We know he can shoot. But the thing about it, will he ever? But the strong point about Klay Thompson that made him even more special
he's a
is
defender.
he was a lockdown defender,
Mm-hmm.
and he and he was a lockdown defender. I don't know if he'll ever have the lateral quickness to defend again when you're coming off a ruptured Achilles and a torn ACL back-to-back years. So that's to be seen. But his timing, we won't know if it'll be back until next year. When I brought him back this year, if I would have brought him back, I would have brought him back
I'd
off the bench,
ease
and
them.
I would have
Yeah,
eased him in off the bench, and probably would have let him continue to come off the bench for the rest of this year, just to get his footing back and his timing back, and then he could have given you a punch off the bench, and then maybe next year, if he's back to 100%, you go into next year with him in the starting lineup. Right now, I thought that was premature. They had chemistry going, and I think that's why they've taken a step back, and it may take a second for them to get that rhythm back to exactly the way they had it.
yeah. Because like I said, if they would have eased him into it, like you said, and then like put him in at key moments when you want to take Curry out and put him in.
Yeah.
You ain't got this. It's like you take one out and put the other one in, and it wasn't hurting it. Just give him a few minutes, get himself acclimated. I know he's gonna miss shots. Like you said, he ain't played in like freaking 3 years, but that's just part of getting his time.
Yeah.
So, like I said, next year everything rolls smooth, no injuries. He's good.
Here's a sleeper move. Next year, somebody's gonna Colin Sexton's gonna be available to somebody next year. Because Darius Garland, all-star point guard in Cleveland, got that job on lock.
Oh
He
yeah,
do. That's a
yeah.
bad
He
boy.
pretty much
That
showed he's a
was a
better
bad boy.
not a role player, but he's a better all-around player that
Player.
the
Yeah.
team versus
Look
like
up.
Sexton has got complaints from a lot of his teammates. Even Kevin Love came out
Kevin Love.
to some things about him, but you can see the difference in that team without him right now. I think if he was still there, Cleveland wouldn't be in the position they're in right now.
Well, they
Okay.
they were 7-4 in the 11 games he played in. It's just that so we don't know. But the thing is, now that Garland's played an all-star at this point. The guys, Garland's 22, Sexton's 23. Garland is an all-star now. And it's not like a situation like when Kyrie Irving was out and Terry Rozier stepped up and played well. They were able to keep going. This is a situation where a guy has established himself, cemented himself as a legitimate all-star, where it's almost as if he's the franchise player of the team now. At this point, that's a luxury for Cleveland because you got a 23-year-old point guard who's still potential all-star caliber, and now you can trade him off and you can get what you want for him. You can maybe you can get somebody up front. Maybe you can get a 2 guard. You can maybe get another lottery pick. You can get something for him now. You can maybe get a pick and something. So I mean, that's a great luxury to have, the way you can float them around. So because Darius Garland got that job, so
Yeah, he got it.
even if Sexton comes back this year, you bring him off the bench, let him get in rhythm, let him, and then during off season, you can trade him to almost whoever you want to trade him to.
Yeah. I'll see.
The Lakers may need to look into that young guard.
They definitely got and now then also getting Karis LeVert, that was a big, help. I'm not saying
gives you offense.
Yeah, offense that they might need at certain points. So And he seemed like he's coming in fitting in
Man,
pretty good.
and Kevin Love is playing best he's played since LeBron been gone.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Kevin Love's it's like he's had a resurgence.
Especially,
Yep.
I think, and that's more because they play a Garland.
Yeah, Kevin Love might win Sixth Man of the Year.
Yeah,
So I
'cause
mean, he got.
I mean that he been
And
showing it though.
yeah, I mean, I know. Of course, here in Charlotte, we think like Oubre, but you got to understand. Look at where Cleveland's record is. So
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, so I mean, Oubre got the numbers for it, but if Cleveland continues to play at the level they're playing, it would be kind of hard to deny Kevin Love
I
Sixth
kept
Man of the
love.
Year.
I agree.
Yeah,
I definitely
and
agree
so
with that. I
and
like you
so
said, I just Garland's just that he just that spark.
yeah,
He
he's
just, he,
22-year-old point guard that's got, and it's good to see that franchise finally have some dang on pride. It's like when LeBron left the first time, they laid down and died and went into dirt and stayed dead
came back.
until he came back. I'm like,
Yep.
where's your pride? And then he leaves again, and then they go right into the dirt again. And it's about time. It's about time that franchise had some pride and some guys stepped up and played. And
Right.
shout out to Coach JB Bickerstaff,
yeah.
probably your NBA Coach of the Year, son of former Charlotte Bobcats coach Bernie Bickerstaff. But shout out to JB Bickerstaff, doing a heck of a job with the Cleveland Cavaliers. That should be the Coach of the Year. Darius Garland, is he a rookie or a second year player or what?
Second year.
Yeah.
Again, that's probably most improved player. And
Yeah.
Yeah.
and like I said, JB Bickerstaff Coach of the Year, and Kevin Love Sixth Man of the Year.
Triple threat.
And one thing about it, it's a young team, but by having Kevin Love play at a high level, you got one player, that a veteran who has that championship experience that help mold those young guys
Yeah.
as they go through their growing pains. So
Yeah.
I think they have. I think Cleveland is letting everyone know that finally we're at a situation where we don't say that we live and die with LeBron.
Yep.
I think they
And knowing the way LeBron is when his contract goes to the Lakers, he might try to run back over there for a third time. Now that he sees they're good again, you just never know.
I
I
wouldn't
wouldn't put it past him.
not do it.
If I was
wouldn't put
Cleveland,
it
I
past
would. He might want to go back there just to retire. Like LeBron, the basketball player, is a self-centered narcissist. Now LeBron, the man, is a great man, but I'm just
I'm with you on that. I agree. It's two
But
sides of the run.
yeah,
Jeff,
but
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
yeah, but LeBron, the basketball competitor, is one of the most arrogant, narcissistic guys I've ever seen. And again, I know people go like, "Oh, you trying to tear a black man down?" I was like, I already didn't say it multiple times. LeBron James, the man, is a great ambassador, great community leader, great representative for the black community, a great role model for children and all that. LeBron James, the man, I have nothing negative to say about. All of my criticism is strictly based on LeBron James, the basketball competitor.
Right. And
So,
that's yeah. It is what it is. But yeah, that was pretty much in the NBA side. So let's get into the NFL side. We were 2 days out, maybe day and some change, whatever.
yeah, whatever.
From the old Super Bowl 56, the home team again.
Yeah, never happened in the back-to-back years. It's happening where it's played in the home stadium of one of the participating teams.
Maybe it should be in Dallas next year.
Yeah, it's funny they say that because of Dallas. Yes, it was funny the first time I saw that on Facebook.
It was like,
I'm maybe having the FedEx Field so the Commanders can be the host team.
Come on, man! Don't say that name. You know what? I want to. You know what? I want to beat this dead horse because I just got to now.
What?
All the names. You could have been the Washington Tigers.
Man, what do you want? Well, you can't be the Tigers. You already got Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengal is a Tiger, so I mean.
Man, that's true.
I heard the Red Tails was an option. Huh? I heard the Red Tails.
You know they want to name that for Tuskegee Airmen, and
I know that, but that would have been more.
You knew.
I knew, but I would just hope
you knew.
I mean,
I'm about to do this look.
Commanders, we knew obviously, but come on, man, that Commanders. That's like something like a
G.I. Joe.
Here's the thing. But here's what bothers me about everybody complaining about it. I like everybody complained and bullied them out of changing their name for Redskins. They had a name that they had for over 50, 60, 70, 80 years. The PC culture, Native Americans weren't even said about 90% of Native Americans were surveyed and said they weren't offended by the name at all.
Right.
there are more. Even the descendants of the Navajo code breakers, whatever the name was. Anybody who knows the U.S. history know about the Navajo code, whatever. Even they were like felt there was a badge of honor and everything. And I'm not. And by the way, I'm not trying to tell Native Americans how to feel about a word or term. That's like telling a black person how to feel about any word. So I'm not trying to tell them how to feel. What I'm saying is when they were surveyed, they said that we're not offended. The majority of them said, by and large, that we're not offended by this. So they're saying they're not offended. Mm-hmm. So at this point, they're still being pressured and bullied into changing their name, even though the people that people were speaking on behalf of said that we're not offended. So I'm like, you didn't like the name they had. You pressured them into changing it. They changed the name, and now all of a sudden, okay, this name ain't good enough. I'm like, well, what do you want them to do? I'm like, they had the same name for.
They tried to do that at Florida State a few years ago.
But the Seminole tribe, they like the name.
They like the name.
Right. And Seminole is not a slur. Seminole is just the name of the tribe. And the Seminole tribe, they take pride in the Florida State Seminoles.
Because that's where they're from. They're based out of the area. So.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
should descendants of the Scandinavian Vikings be offended about the Minnesota Vikings? I mean, I know that's not apples to apples, but the point I'm making is I get that if Redskin is considered a slur, then I get why you want to change the name. But of course, if they change the name, there are only so many names that will be available to use. You got 31 other NFL teams, so it's not like the good names are pretty much taken up. So whatever they would have picked, people were going to laugh at them and complain about it. If they would have said the Washington Generals, people were going to laugh. I remember when the Washington Bullets changed their name to the Washington Wizards. People said they should change their name to the Washington Bullets because of gun violence and all that stuff. So they changed their name to the Washington Wizards. When they changed their name to the Washington Wizards, people complained saying they were advocating the KKK because of the Grand Wizard. I said, well, good God, you didn't like the name they had. They changed it like you asked them to. And then when they change it, then you get mad. That's just like, I was about to say it's just like dating, but never mind.
Everybody has their preference. Yeah. Everybody has it. But I'm just saying. I mean,
hey,
it's not
hell to the Commanders.
It fits the city because I mean,
you couldn't use. I mean, they weren't going to use Nationals. The baseball team already got that. So I mean,
yeah.
Unless it'll be like yes. I mean, what do you want them to do? I'm like the first name, the name they had, everybody was so offended by it. So I mean, they tried to appease everybody and change it, and now everybody want to poo-poo on them because they changed the name. In today's society, you can't win for losing because people keep moving the goalposts, and some people are just never going to be satisfied. But some people, too much will never be enough.
The problem is social media. So you got so many people putting their input on everything. You didn't have to have this type of thing that happened back, when we were young.
So, social media is why the name got changed in the first place. But go ahead.
Yep.
I mean, this is point blank. Like now, everybody has an avenue to speak their mind.
Everybody has a platform.
Yeah.
Yep.
Anybody do something that this one person, like, if that one person can magnify their voice to make it seem what that one person is doing is so wrong, and they get that backing because that one person said something, it's like a wildfire. It's going to spread.
Yep.
Yeah,
and it's as simple as that.
I'll be right back. Get my charger.
Okay. Yeah, but
and not to knock. I'm not here, not trying to sit here and criticize social media because it has helped people in good ways.
Mm-hmm.
And it's definitely been a bad side of that. But
a
gift
and a curse.
Yeah, it's basically a gift and a curse.
It's when it get in the hands of the wrong people. Just like when people talk about guns and all that. I'm not here to get in the gun debate, but when people debate whether guns are good or guns are bad, I says depending on who has one.
Mm-hmm.
It's the person, not the gun.
Not the gun.
Right. So same thing with social. So same thing. So and I'm not getting in a gun debate, but I'm just saying same thing with social media. It's not whether social media is good or bad. It's who's behind the keyboard.
There you go. But
the thing about this, hate will always be spread, love will always be spread, whether there's social media or no social media. It's just that the platform magnifies it. So the thing about it, when it comes to negativity is going to always garner more attention than positivity. And then when you have a large platform, that means on the larger platform, the negativity is going to be magnified at a higher level than the positivity. So when you have these greater platforms now, the negativity that's always existed is now just on a larger scale because it's more visible.
Yep. But on to the Super Bowl. Got the
Okay.
Los Angeles Rams versus the Cincinnati Bengals.
Shout out to Rosie Greer. Shout out to Deacon Jones. Shout out to Jackie Slater, and whoever the other person on the fearsome foursome was with the old Los Angeles Rams.
Rams, yeah. But
Funny thing about it, the funny thing about it, there has been a Super Bowl that was in Los Angeles metropolitan area where the Los Angeles Rams played in. They played against the Los Angeles Rams. The Pittsburgh Steelers played in the Super Bowl at the Rose Bowl one year. This when Lynn Swan was MVP. The thing is, it wasn't their home stadium because their home stadium was the Anaheim Angels, California Angels Stadium in Anaheim is where the LA Rams were home stadium was, and the game was played at the Rose Bowl in Pasadena, which is 10 miles north of LA. So it wasn't their actual home stadium, but it was in their home city slash
city.
metropolitan area. So I mean that part has happened for, but it's like now the Los Angeles Rams are playing in Inglewood, and the Super Bowl's in Inglewood at SoFi Stadium where they play their home games, just like last year when the Super Bowl was in Tampa, where the Tampa Bay Buccaneers play their home games. So for the first, how many Super Bowls is this? This is Super Bowl 50 what?
56.
So out of the first 54 Super Bowls, there had never been one played at the home stadium of a participating team. And now back to back years, you have that. I don't have a problem with it. It's just the way the ball bounces. It's just pretty amazing that we went 54 years without that happening, and now we've gone 2 consecutive years seeing that happen. But go
Yeah.
ahead with your question.
No, I was just saying, I was trying to figure out the road of difficulty for both teams, in my opinion.
Well, I know. Well, I can tell you the difficulty for the Cincinnati Bengals. If they can't block Aaron Donald and Von Miller,
That's it.
we know what Von Miller. I'm a Carolina Panthers fan. I know what Von Miller can do when it comes to ruining your Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I'll put it this way. I had nightmares. This is my own.
Yeah, before it was Von Miller and Demarcus Ware who ruined our Super Bowl
Yeah.
dreams. Um, if they
Yeah.
can't block, who did I say?
Darnold,
Aaron Darnold and Von Miller.
It's gonna be a long night.
I'm not saying they can't do it, but I said, but that better be a priority.
They got away at Tennessee because Tennessee couldn't capitalize. But like you
Yeah,
said,
because Tannehill, you know how I feel about Tannehill. But anyway, he sucks.
yeah, absolutely.
And you know why the only reason I feel like he's a starting quarterback in the NFL. I'm not getting into that today. I beat that dead horse all the time. But
Yep.
yeah, but I don't know who's going to win the game. Don't really care who's going to win the game. F both teams. But and I can't stand Odell Beckham Jr. based on some mess that happened in the Panthers game years ago. What I will say is Larry Ogunjobi is the starting defensive tackle for the Cincinnati Bengals. Larry Ogunjobi was the first player from the University of North Carolina at Charlotte to be drafted by an NFL team. He was a third-round pick by the Cleveland Browns. He's had a very good career, had a very good season with the Cincinnati Bengals, and I would love to see Jamestown. He went to Ragsdale High School in Jamestown. I would love to see Larry Ogunjobi, the original Charlotte 49er, the first Charlotte 49er to be drafted into the National Football League. Now we've had several, including Alex Highsmith to play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But if it wasn't for Larry Ogunjobi, that avenue wouldn't have been paved. Larry Ogunjobi is a pioneer of Charlotte 49ers football. So I'm not gonna say held a gun in my head. That's too serious of an analogy. If you put me by the fire and force me to pick who I want to win, I don't really care. But I'll be happy and satisfied to see Larry Ogunjobi win a Super Bowl and represent my Charlotte 49ers.
Absolutely. D.
It's a lot of people that it's one of the Super Bowls where it kind of either way can go either way for me, but more so, I feel like I wouldn't mind seeing the Bengals win it just because
they're one of the franchises that's never won one, so that would
that's kind of why I want to see something different. I mean, they got a lot of. I won't say they have like odd stat against them, but they're the underdogs. In situations like that, I always pull for the underdogs. In the case of the Rams, it wouldn't bother me if they won because Matthew Stafford, what he went through in Detroit, the years that he went through the torture he went in Detroit. So it would be good to see him get finally show that he's an okay quarterback, or it was that he can play higher or better than what he could if he has actual more of a real supporting
Competent team
cast.
around. Yeah, competent supporting cast. Yeah.
Yeah. So either way, I mean, I wouldn't be, displeased about, the situation, but I feel like, I'm more in the Cincinnati Bengals corner as far as I feel like, I want to see who win. I want to see win the game or Super Bowl.
I say this. Um, Giving the credit to both teams, the better defense to me is the Rams. That's coming down to what it's gonna be. Now it's up to
Yeah.
Cincinnati how they handle it. They have the better
Yeah.
defense on paper.
And they're good
But
on all three levels.
yeah, good on all three levels. But we've seen Cincinnati. I mean, not, yeah, Cincinnati minus Tennessee. They did go to Arrowhead and well, I ain't gonna say they demolished the Chiefs, but they showed the Chiefs how they melt down. But Andy Reid always melts down. So.
Yeah. When it comes to the Super Bowl, you typically have to throw logistics out the window because sometimes I think teams overhype themselves for the moment, and sometimes things just don't go the script. And
Yeah,
what you find out is who panics first when things go off script. Lots of times it's hard to get a rhythm early. Then when you come out at halftime, after that long halftime, you're out of rhythm again. You got to reestablish it. And sometimes you get off rhythm, and sometimes when you get off rhythm, sometimes you make a silly mistake. You make an errant throw. The errant throw might get tipped in the air. It might turn into a pick six. Those are things that change a game. Or sometimes a long snapper or snap the ball over the punter's head and it's a safety. Some in a situation like that, 2 points can mean all the world. Lots of
yep.
times those are that one time the guy who never fumbles suddenly fumbles the ball in the red zone, that type of thing when you and you end up taking points off the board that you ordinarily would have had. When those type of things get to happen, sometimes a game can avalanche on you too, and you get down a lot. And even though you match up well against the team, the matchup doesn't matter because too many mental errors have taken place. So in a game like that, usually the tempo of the game is slower. Everybody's kind of breathing in the hype and everything,
Right.
and most of the time it takes a minute to decompress to get into the rhythm of the game. However, sometimes if it takes you too long to get into a rhythm, the team that get into a rhythm first can end up jumping on you, and now you're playing from behind. And in the game with so much pressure when you're playing from behind, sometimes you're a little more tense. And instead of calmly just running your offense, sometimes you, or even calmly playing your defense, whatever, sometimes you'll make a silly mistake. You'll get greedy because you're trying to get it all back at one time. Sometimes that corner might try to jump that slant and he mistimes it, and now it's a touchdown. Sometimes that you had to play with the ball hit the receiver right in the hands, but for whatever reason he doesn't catch it, tips it up in the air, pick six. Those kind
Yep.
of things happen, and sometimes in the Super Bowl, so it's kind of hard to judge it. So that's why you get the game unconventional results sometimes because the teams are not themselves, and it takes teams a while to get their footing in the game.
And I say this too on top of what you were just saying. Uh, Now I know coach. What's his name? That coached the Rams. I can't think his name. McVay. Is it McVay?
Sean McVay, yeah,
He gets too cute sometimes. He gets
very
too
much
cute.
so.
He
Just
gets
like
too cute.
Cal Shanahan's the same way, but yeah,
That's what I was getting ready to say. When Kyle Shanahan did that with Atlanta, it cost them. They got too
yeah,
cute. When all they had to do was just
because
run the ball.
those young arrogant coaches sometimes they want to be fancy
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes when just finish the game, but they want those style points.
Yep.
Some of those, yeah, and they get to smelling their own farts and liking it, and
And that's what happened to
that's what
Atlanta.
happens. Yeah,
That was a perfect example. They was up 28-3. There was no way we should have. No way the Patriots should have came back and won that.
I was watching a game when they I remember they're down 28-3 late in the third, maybe early fourth, and
Yeah.
I remember New England scored a touchdown, failed a 2 point conversion, it was 28-9. I was at my buddy Brad's house. I said, and I looked at him when they cut that thing 28-12. I said, you know, it's just a 2 score game, right? And everyone's like, man, this game is over. I said, you know, it's just a 2 score game, right? 28. I told someone, I said, 2 touchdowns, 2 point conversions, the game's tied up. I said, you still got like 9 minutes left in the game. I said, that's more
Tom
than enough
Brady.
time. Yeah, that's a 2 score game. That's more than enough time. But I think people were getting caught up in the emotion of it, where it's just like, there was an overwhelming deficit, and they're not thinking about the logistics of it. But I was looking at the logistics of it. When that thing got, I was good at 28-9 because there's still 3 scores. When they got that field goal to make it 28-12, I looked and I said, "Uh oh." It reminded me of that Anson Chesterfield game when Anson was up 26-0, and when Chesterfield cut
Mm-hmm.
the game, Chesterfield cut that game 26-13. I kept looking at people. I said, "It's just a 2-score game," and everyone's
Yep.
like, "Man, we're still in control." I said, "It's a 2-score game."
Same.
I said, "I'm like, we got to score
Yeah,
at least get some first downs."
because they
And
got the hot hand.
when Atlanta, and I was like, all Atlanta needs to do is at least get a field goal, 31-12, and the ball game is over. They had
Uh-huh.
gotten
Yep.
in field goal range and had a chance to go up 31-12. They
Got sacked.
he got sacked and knocked them out of field goal. I'm like, that's like some of the most Carolina Panther ish I've ever seen. And and I'm like, when I saw that happen, I was like,
There
I'm
it
like,
is.
I'm sitting there
Reggie.
like, and when they cut that thing, 28-20, I said New England's gonna win this game.
Yep.
Someone's like, well, it's still a little time. I said they're gonna win this game. I promise you. I said 1-score game. I said they give Brady that ball back, he's gonna tie this game up. And then when it
Yep.
was going to overtime, I said they better pray to God that they win the coin toss. If New England won that coin toss, I said,
That
well,
was it.
there's that.
Yep. It's happening every time. What I say, like it's like McVay get cute like Shanahan, because Shanahan did it and McVay does it a lot. I've seen him do it a lot this year.
Shanahan did it against the Cowboys too in that wild card game. It's just that they got bailed out. But
Yep.
yeah, but he did it there too.
But I'm not gonna put Joe Burrow. He's a good quarterback. Not gonna take nothing away from Blush Sam.
Yeah, Nick. I don't know if it's my headset or it's you, but your sound's kind of fading a little bit.
Can you hear me now?
I hear you, but I hear you, but I wonder is it my headset or is it the?
Yeah.
You hear him fine?
No, I'm,
So
I'm
it's my
here.
Okay, so
Yeah.
I was but I mean we could hear you. It's just the projection of the sound was coming out more faint.
Yeah.
How about okay? Good now.
No, it's still got.
Man,
See.
you sound like Timberland back in the '90s when he was on the tracks. You sound like Timberland back in the day when him and Magoo were making albums. It's the big back of Huna.
Let's see how this looks.
Don't worry about it. Just keep talking, man. I'm about to dip in like 8 minutes or so let's keep this thing going.
All right, but yeah, I think I think it'll come down to who makes the most mental errors.
I agree.
Mental errors.
Same thing, but I agree.
Yeah, but I played a simulated game on Madden, and I'm just gonna say my score. I think would end up being I had the Rams winning 18-13.
I don't have a score for you, but I mean, I have no idea how this game's gonna go. The way these games are going, I feel like it's gonna end on a field goal. That's how all of them are going this year. But this time I'm still say 24-20. I'm gonna say one of the teams is gonna be up 20-17 late. It's gonna look grim, or the quarterback's gonna march his team. I'm gonna say Burrow's gonna march his team downfield, and as late in the game with ticks left, gonna hit a game-winning touchdown to win the game 24-20.
That sounds fair.
But to be honest with you, I have no idea. Nor do I really care, and I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm probably not even gonna watch a lot of it.
I'm gonna watch I usually watch about the first part, then I come back and watch the second half. I don't never watch.
The game is too long. It's too long with all those extracurricular festivities and stuff, man. It's like I just want to see the game, and it's like all this extra-ish, all these extra commercials, this long halftime show. It's like, man, a game that started 6:30 ain't got no business ending near midnight, man. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, I might watch the halftime show. That's probably the only reason I watched it this year.
Man, how they gonna be out there and they're gonna leave the game out of it, man? It's like I still don't get that. Like I'm like the game resurrected the West Coast when the West Coast was on life support, man.
Exactly.
But you know that, hey, but he's making a bounce back. He and Ye got this joint out, man, right now. So it's good to see the game back in the forefront of the music scope and what he hit out on the radio right now. So shout out to the game. His new album, Drillmatic, set to drop later this year. I'm excited to see what he's gonna do. He says this is the best that's yet to come. So we're gonna be on the lookout for Drillmatic, the game, and see what he does. I just gave him a free plug.
Shout out to the game. Shout out to Yo Gotti too. I like his album, new album.
Hey,
I heard
I
some.
ain't heard it. I
Yeah,
ain't heard it, but I know Yo Gotti's always solid, man. So shout out to Yo Gotti up there in Memphis, man. He was originally supposed to release it earlier. We know tragic event in Memphis led him to delay it, which probably was smart just to pay some respect. Even though they had their differences, it still made sense, especially knowing the heat that they had between the two and knowing what happened 25, 26 years ago in a similar situation. It was best just to kind of let things cool down a little bit. So I mean, shout out to Yo God as well. Always been a consistent, solid artist. So glad to know that he's put out a nice project. I haven't heard it, but I take your word for it, Nick.
It's good. If you got time, give it a check. But
I'll put it this: is better than I am? Yes or no?
yeah, it's better.
Okay, then I would take that. It's pretty good.
2 disc album,
He got a double disc out. Oh, Yo
double disc.
Gotti. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm gonna check that out because if it's I am was good. So I mean, it sounds
I
splash
love
good. So if it's better than I am, then because to me up to this point, I haven't heard a new one. I always thought I am was his best work. So
Yeah, that
that was the
that was good.
that was the
I,
one
I,
album he did on that was the one album he did on Grand Hustle. He did a one album deal with Grand Hustle and dropped I am, and that was his best album. So if it's better than I am, then it must be pretty good. So
it's solid. Production's good. Got great beats. Use a lot of good samples. It's
that
you can
old
tell
that
he
old
put his
Memphis
time.
that old Memphis
His
blues
time.
sample.
Yeah, he put some good stuff in it. You can tell he put his time in this one.
What that's good, man. We're from the South. I love to see Southern rappers do well. I love to see Southern rappers prevail. I love to see positive things happening with Southern rappers, man. Let them know that hip hop isn't just a one region genre. It's a it's a multifaceted, versatile genre, and it is a genre where you can get high level music down in the South as well. And it sounds like Yo Gotti's proving that point. So I'm happy to hear that Yo Gotti's dropped a high quality album.
All right. Well, we at the hour and 1 minute mark. We're about to get up out of here and get y'all the flow. We'll start from with T and we'll go down. This floor is yours.
All right. First of all, man, I want to pay another tribute. We lost another man of God down in Waysboro/Anson County, the Reverend Tony L. Tyson. He was a good friend of my father. They were in the ministry. They served in the ministry together. He was a man of God, a man who was sincere in his ministry, a man who cared about the salvation of others, and a man who was a leader of other men, a person who took pride in mentoring, guiding, and bringing people closer to God. We lost him last week. I believe he has some health complications. Um, Saddens me to hear that. He has a lot of family in Ansonville who's related to most of those Tysons in Ansonville. His funeral is going to be tomorrow at 2 p.m. at Rocky Mount Emmy Zion in Ansonville. Again, he was a great man, and I just want to leave a salute to the Reverend Tony L. Tyson. May God rest his soul.
All right. D, floor
Uh,
is yours.
uh, once again, good show, fellas. Just want to say, enjoy the weekend. Super Bowl Sunday. That's it. Just enjoy life. Be safe out there, and see you next time.
All right. Let me get this right here. And shout out to everybody for popping out tonight, man. We enjoyed y'all. We had a good little crowd up in here tonight. Appreciate y'all for coming in and giving y'all output on things as well. That's mostly appreciated. But we definitely we're gonna be back next week. I got to see what day we get to check everybody's schedules again.
I mean,
And
I'm typically free on the day you want to do it. It's just this week I just
yeah,
had to make some adjustments.
I got you. But we'll probably be back on Thursdays, if not Fridays. We'll just see how
Wait. Next Thursday I won't be available. I got to do something for my uncle. So
we'll do Friday.
I guess that's probably the more viable option.
Yeah, we'll do Friday. We'll do Friday. I try not to bump him in chill time. 'Cause I know he does Friday, so I'll try to get
Well,
him his
even if I do it a little earlier on Friday. I mean, well, I know you got to work too. Do you
work.
work Fridays?
Yeah,
Okay. Well, I
yeah,
mean, we'll figure it out.
yeah. It's no big deal. But we're gonna be back. Ain't no, just know we'll be back, everybody. We'll be back. We'll be back.
Yeah.
Welcome back, welcome back, welcome
Welcome back.
back. Anyway, Pastor Mace, we up out of here. Hope y'all had a good night. And we'll check y'all out next week. Peace.
Yes, sir. See you.
See you.